Welcome to the Uplift, where we are uplifting our lives, uplifting each other, and uplifting our communities together. Thank you for joining myself, Sai Herrera, and Tessa Savala here, two women, two attorneys, doing it our way, and inviting you here each week to share in on the stories, advice, and life lessons we've picked up along our journeys that keep us uplifted, and that will hopefully do the very same thing for you. Now buckle in and let's get ready to be uplifted.
Hello, everyone. As always, I'm Tessa, and I am joined by the amazing and kind and generous Sai.
Thank you, Tessa, and I'm so happy to be here with you, friend. How are you feeling?
I am great. How are you?
Not too bad, feeling good. Got my breakfast in, feeling pretty good.
Awesome. I had the most interesting conversation with one of my strong friends who, we talked about strong friends last week, and I was surprised. Well, maybe not surprised. Maybe I was paying more attention. I was paying more attention to what she said, being present, and I realized like she can't take a compliment. She doesn't say
Mm,
nice things to herself. And I'm like,
mm,
wow, do I do that too? Are we
mm,
saying nice things to ourselves? And then this
mm,
weekend I watched comedy show on Netflix with Hannah Gadsby, and it's all about, self-deprecating humor and how bad that is for ourselves, right? And I'm like,
mhm.
wow, we are just not nice to ourselves. And I was thinking, so we
And we think
talked,
it's funny. It is
yeah,
interesting.
right? Like, how messed up was that? Like, we can't take compliments. And maybe it's just how, women and people who are othered are that we're not allowed to see the good in ourselves because then we're going to be judged by society.
Mm,
And have our backs against the wall all the time because it's either, be pretty but not too pretty, be nice but not too nice, be independent but not too independent, have your own
mhm,
identity but not too much of an identity.
for sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, how
And
do
the judgment
we?
is real. I
It's
mean, it's
so
not
real.
imagined, it's real, yes.
And, I think maybe it's easier to recognize in other people, but I'm
Mm.
100% sure I do it to myself because I know I have negative self talk. And I'm like, wow, gotta stop that.
So interesting you bring it up because it's something that came up for me just yesterday too, thinking about like people, ask you what you've been doing and how are things going, and you tell them all the things, and they're just like, oh, wow, like they want to say something good about you. And then I've realized now that I have found a way to take a compliment, whereas before I didn't, but it's still very like it's still tempered. But it's now I can say like I'm really proud of the work that I did, or the part that I contributed, and then I, give credit to all the other people involved. But I'm like, being proud of something is the way that I am even able to take. I was not. I was definitely in the same boat. I was never able to take a compliment. I'd be like, no, no,
See,
thank you, but yeah, whatever,
and my way to like deflect when I get a compliment is I start by saying, aren't you so sweet? Aren't you so
Mm,
kind? Thank you
mhm.
so much. And then maybe I'll say something positive about myself. But is I always flip it back to the other person.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I mean the fear that's there, of course. I mean, it's not like we, made this up. We're all doing it because of something.
Exactly.
And what are those forces, And for me, it's like it triggers the thought of like when I was young, I mean, I feel like I was a naturally confident person, or I shouldn't say naturally even, but I feel like I had this confidence about me that people could sense. And it was not welcome. Well, in a lot of situations. I mean,
Yep.
in some cases it was, like I had a lot of friends, and some people are attracted to that and other people get pissed off, like legit get pissed off that you are so confident and want to take you down a peg. And I mean, I've had people want to like, I mean, this sounds wild now, but I mean, I had people in school that wanted to fight me, just because, I felt confident and I didn't, give them a lot of attention that was what they wanted, or I honestly don't know. All I know is that it attracts a lot of energy. It attracts, good and negative energy. And I think you're taught really quickly, like people will use these words against you to make you feel like it's not okay what you're doing. Like projecting confidence is not okay. And so taking a compliment is like would fly in the face of that, or complimenting yourself. It's like, "Oh, yeah, you're just proving all of these people correct," right? And I mean, I'm thinking about these words that I remember people being like, "You're snobby," like,
Oh, yeah.
"You're uppity," "You're
Mhm.
think you're too good, you think you're better than everyone." These are real things that I think, I'm sure so many people have experienced, and it's really tragic, and I hope it's different now. I really, really hope that that's the case, but in my experience, it's like, I mean, that was my entire childhood, really, and my entire teen years and my 20s. I mean, I don't it's just I think it's really just now that I've gotten, and I mean, not even now as in my 30s, but now in my, like, late 30s, I've gotten to a place where I'm like, "Hey, like, yeah, I should be proud of what I'm doing. I'm doing that damn thing." You know what I mean? And it's like, I find it really interesting that I have to teach other people all the time to brag on themselves, like, even my staff, it's like, they're doing amazing things, like, I mean, literally saving lives, and they don't know how to take compliments, and not only do they not know how to take compliments as, based on what we're talking about right now, but a step further, it's like, do we know how to talk about ourselves in an honest
Yeah.
and positive and confident way? Like, that's beyond taking a compliment. I feel like taking a compliment is just, like, the beginning, It's like we
It's
need
like
to
the
be way
baby
beyond.
step.
Yeah, that's like a baby
Yeah.
step, like, yeah, and we need to master that baby step because we should be running and flying and showing people like we are the shit, period. And I mean
Yeah.
all of us because we all are in different ways, right? And it's like, why? Why is it so difficult? And I think it's all those little whispers of the past,
Mhm.
or of, what you've seen other, and what's really interesting too about socialization for me is like not what people tell you directly, because those people are just like assholes. You're just like, okay, well, you've just,
Usually. Yep.
yeah, like you've just like, like I hate you. I don't like you. Like you're mean. And
Oh,
you can
yeah.
kind of dismiss those people sometimes. But I think the one that's really sneaky and interesting for me is when we do it to other women, to other people, to other like and other people do it to other people in front of you, and it's like this is a low key socialization technique that is so tricky because you're just like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in this social group. I belong here and I should be doing, what these other people are doing." And these other people are putting down this person, usually a woman, because she's so
Mhm.
confident, and she's looking like
Mhm.
this and she's doing that and she's got her chin up. I mean, I literally had people tell me, "Put your chin down."
Oh my
I
word.
just, like, amazingly, like, blunt about it, right? But it's like other people telling someone else about it, it's like, "Oh, you're not being mean to me, we're being mean to her," or like, "We are letting her know what she should and shouldn't be doing," but it's really telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing
Oh,
because
yeah.
then, of course, you'll be judged by the group?
Oh, yeah. And, groups.
Mhm.
Oh,
The groups.
the groups. I
Mhm.
have always been a person who, like, floated among different groups, but was
Mhm.
probably never a solid member of any group,
Mm.
but
Mhm.
fit into many groups.
That's wonderful.
And
I love
I
that
think
part. I mean, that's versatility.
it's a great social skill.
It is.
However, that also doesn't mean you can be ostracized by all those
Mhm.
groups all the time because,
And not have
it's
protection necessarily with one too. Like I think that's why people
correct.
click up, it's the safety of
Yeah.
the group.
But I don't, as somebody who floats among those groups, I realize I don't actually think there's any safety in them because
Right.
those groups will turn on their own people
Uh-huh.
in a
100%.
heartbeat. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, it's that I don't know if it's pulling people down so that they all stay at the same level, if it's this, they want to compare everybody to each other, and if anybody achieves a little bit more,
Mm.
oh, we're just going to bring out that green envy.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
why are we not just supporting each other? 'Cause you know what?
Mm.
I find that when I support other people and when I'm
Mhm.
kind to other people, I tend to
Yes.
feel better about myself.
Yes, and it's actually usually I mean, frankly, for me, it benefits me every time. And I don't even mean to be
Absolutely.
like, we have to do a cost benefit analysis, but it's like, there is no zero-sum game. It's all an illusion. It's all fake. It's
Yeah.
all, it's all for people to project their insecurities and jealousies and, just project their like trauma healing onto other people, frankly. Like, I mean, it's really trauma responses people are trying to work out. And when you were saying those things, it made me think like, and how does it come out? Like you talked about envy, and I'm thinking, and how does it come out? Because the way that you see it, you don't see it as somebody being like, hey, I'm jealous of you. That'd be great if we were actually honest with each other. Like, I'm
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
this, it's coming up for me, right? Like, it doesn't do that. Like, people come through and they say like, you're ugly, or like,
Yep.
like you're snobby, or you think you're so good, you think you're better than everyone. And so that's what you see, and it's like you have to learn to translate that all into like, "Oh, this is about you. It's not
Yep.
about me." And I wish I had had that when I was young. I wish everyone had that immediately because, I mean, it's such a hurtful game that we play with each other, really.
It is, and, growing up, I had I mean, I still do technically, I have a sibling who is a
Technically.
yeah, well, families, they're complicated.
Uh,
A male. And like me, because he is my sibling by blood as well, a Swedish white male. So we're talking white male. I can safely assure you that he did not have any of these challenges and was
mm,
never told not to
mm,
be, confident
interesting.
or
Yeah.
to talk about his achievements,
Mm. So interesting,
which
yeah. Just thinking about that
is
and how different that is. Yeah, I mean, and you don't think about that when you're going through it either.
no, you don't realize that that's what's happening.
Right, right. It takes so long. We need to
It
we need to
does.
teach this lesson in school before it happens to everyone. Just
But
like, don't
but
do
think
that.
about it, like, for us, that's, like,
Mm.
decades of
Yeah, yeah,
that
absolutely.
negative
Unlearning and
self-talk
yes,
and all the stuff we're
programming,
getting from other
deprogramming.
yeah,
Mhm. And it's not like it's not
yeah.
reinforced in other ways too. It's like it's reinforced everywhere, even at work. It's like, do a lot, but don't do too much because now you're not in your lane, honey. You need to get in your lane. You need to know your place. You need to know your work. I hate that shit. I'm cussing
I
a lot today because it's angering me,
it
actually.
is, and, that language is so limiting as though
Yes.
somebody couldn't have another idea. It
Yes.
makes me think about that, like, I don't know if it's a wives' tale or just kind of like
Mm.
story to learn from about a truck that got stuck under a bridge in like New
Mhm.
York and nobody
Mhm.
could figure it out. They brought in all these engineers and some little kid in a car says let the air out of the tires because it was like just barely stuck and that would then, lower the truck to make allow it to back up or move forward. And it's as though we
But
don't
did they
think
listen
that
to that little kid, or did they say, "Shut up, kid," like,
I
because you're not
guess
an
the story is
engineer,
that they listened to him. I think
Well,
that's what you're
good.
supposed to take away.
That's what you're supposed to
But
do.
we don't do that, right? Like,
Right, right.
we make people stay in their lanes even though they
Mhm.
could
It
have
could be
the
fucking
idea.
brilliant, yes, and you don't
Yeah.
know, like, it's just so amazing, all these little boxes we put ourselves in. We put ourselves in all these tiny boxes, and I just think it's such a weird, like, I don't know, limiting thing that we're so far from becoming enlightened as a society. Like, I keep
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about enlightenment on an individual level and how we are working towards those things, year after year, decade after decade, and it's like things are changing for us individually. Like, we're growing, our mind is growing, our mind is expanding in ways, and it's like literally society is set up to discourage that, frankly. Like, I mean, that's literally what I'm like, from this conversation, that's what I'm taking. It's like we are setting ourselves up for failure on an individual level, but even more so on a societal level, where it's like we'll never get there together. Even if individuals do, like, we'll never get there together because we've already structured it in a way that will not allow that, that does not promote it.
uh, all I had racing through my head while you were talking was the downfall of democracy, right, in the
Mm,
United
mm.
States.
Yes.
Because, I mean,
Yeah, that's real,
it is so real. And,
unfortunately.
I saw
Yeah.
the meme this week in social media about the two of the most powerful people in Congress, and one of them is Mitch McConnell, who
Mhm,
had this frozen moment at a microphone for an extended period of time, and the
mhm,
other is, I think, Dianne Feinstein,
mm,
who, you know, is having some health struggles.
mm,
And I just like, you realize that we as a society need to change the way we're thinking
mhm,
because we need to start supporting people as opposed to tearing them down. And I am not a fan of, you know, Mitch McConnell. However, I
mhm,
don't think we need to make fun of his current, say, healthcare issues at
mhm.
the same time. But we also apparently don't have a support system that allows them to just be
Right.
like, okay, because I'm guessing that they too feel it from all sides,
Well, yeah, and I
just
mean,
like we do.
it's an interesting example really because we've set up the entire political system to be, a sports event.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it is now. So, of course you're gonna root for I mean, not me personally, but, people that are in this sports mentality now, of course you're gonna root for the other side, to lose one of their most powerful players. Like, I mean, it's sad, but, like, that's the system that we've set up, and it's kind of, it's kinda sick and twisted, a little dark, but that's really what we've gotten to, where we're rooting against the other team. We're not trying to make our team better necessarily. We're not trying to, like, critique our team and make it the strongest
Mm-mm.
thing possible. We are just hoping that the other team fumbles. Look at me using sports analogies.
Way to go. One. Two, like, I think that is exactly what's happening among, like, our own little cliques and our own
Yeah.
little friend groups
Yeah.
and what we
Yeah.
see in our
Exactly.
and wow, how
Yes.
did that become, like, the thing to do? Like,
And why is it
how
so, like, normalized too? Like, why is it so
yeah.
common? Why is it the thing that we go to as our go-to? Like, why? Why is it not something healthier? That's what I always find really interesting about a lot of, human relationship. It's just like, why is our first instinct so bad? I don't get
Right? And
it.
I'm one of those people who refuses to think that, you know, it's all survival of the fittest and that
Yeah,
people need to tear
exactly.
each other down.
Well, maybe
Because I
that's
don't
part
think,
of it. Maybe that's part of it. The fact that we've been taught that from the beginning, like that's a thing, like that we have to be competitive.
I mean, that is so. Okay, I'm just going to continue on this, F bomb tirade. That is so fucked up. Like,
Right. Absolutely. And it is, and we're teaching kids from young ages, it's not like it's ingrained. The whole thing is ingrained in society of like click up, like this religion against that religion, this political
mm,
party against that political party, girls against boys. I mean, it's a whole thing all the time. It's so strange. But
it's the binary.
yes, it's the binary and it's enculturated, it's just
Hmm.
always there. We're swimming in it. We're swimming
Yeah.
in it. It's not like something that you just learn when you become a teenager. It's like it's always been there. It's what and it's like even people talking shit about each other, it's like kids pick up on that, everybody picks up on that, everybody picks up on that. It's like, okay, so this is what we do when this person's not around, we talk shit about them, and it's like that's not okay, but yet it is okay because we're doing it all the time, and those are the messages that we get said. So even if people are saying out loud, like, you should be good to each other, you should share, you should be kind. It's like the practice is it speaks volumes so much louder than whatever it is you're saying day to day.
And is it practice? Do we need practice saying nice things about each
Mm,
other? Do we need
mm,
permission to start saying nice things to each other? Do we
and
need to,
ourselves.
like, and ourselves,
Hmm.
absolutely. And do we need to remind everybody that there is room at the table for everybody?
Right, right. And I mean, it really is a mindset situation again. And, the limited mindset comes from these clicks, come from this trying to chop other people down, comes from fear in my calculation of things. It comes from this idea that there's not enough room at the table. There's not enough pie to go around. It's a scarcity mindset, right? Where if you get some, then I can't have it. If you're getting, I don't know, that spot on the sports team, you're getting A's, you're getting friends, that means I don't get those things, right? And maybe if you were not around, or if you weren't getting those things, or you didn't feel like you were worthy of those things, maybe I could come in and get those things. So it has to be fear based. And how do we address that fear so that we can deprogram people, right? So that we can show people that it doesn't have to be this way and we can all thrive.
Like, the optimist in me thinks if we work on fixing ourselves and having the confidence in ourselves and being able to project that confidence in ourselves,
Hmm.
does that then change the narrative so that we are then kinder and nicer and supportive of
Mm.
others? Right? Is it
Hmm.
only the people who are waging this war of like good versus evil inside themselves? And I'm going to say the side of them that's tearing other people down is the evil side,
Hmm.
by my
The good and
estimation.
evil, my God. Oh my God.
See, which I've now created another binary, which, oh,
The good and evil is the most classic one, you know?
yeah,
I don't know why I was just thinking, I didn't even think we're gonna go religious, but I just for some reason it was coming up in me like the love thy enemy situation, right? And how that
yeah,
actually is super super wise thing. Like, I mean, the more I see, the more I know, and I know that the people who think that they're my enemy, because I don't have enemies, I always say. I don't have enemies. There might be people who don't like me. There might be people who want to see me fail, and I want to see them succeed. And
yep.
so, like, they are not my enemy. They might be my hater. That's fine. But I still love them, right? And it's because it's not a zero sum game. And I've come to realize that it is not that. Like, the more we build each other up, the better thing that we have, period. The
Absolutely.
more people succeeding, the more we are succeeding, period. And it's like, it's just very, very interesting to me that we always set up this like us versus them, period. Just us versus them is a thing all the time in every situation, whether it be your tribe, whether it be your workplace, whether it be fractions within your workplace or friend group or family. There's always a thing that people are driving towards, this us versus them. Or I shouldn't say always, I'm just saying in my experience, I've seen this theme over and over again. And my thought is maybe the first step is literally talking about and calling out and calling in other people around the fact that we can all thrive, actually. We can have this
Yeah.
mindset of abundance, and we can understand that your success is actually tied to my success. And that, I think one of the ways that this has come up for me in my past is like people talk about a bunch of different, like, it's really interesting in college, especially people start like labeling themselves in these really interesting ways, like even political affiliations, like, oh, I'm socialist, I'm more capitalist, whatever. Or like, I don't know, like people had all of these different things, of their mindset. And I just remember coming down to this place where I was like, I think I'm just like a humanist because that's what I care about. Like and I don't even know where that came from. I'm just like, everybody cares about all these things and all, and I was like, I care about all those things too. But I'm like, if I had to pick like a thing that I cared the most about, I'm like, it's kind of like the entire human race because I'm part of it. And I want us to do well so that we can keep going on, existing. That would be great. And so it's
When
just
did you
funny.
reach that point, like, where you
Oh,
realized you were
it was I was pretty
humanist?
young. I was in undergrad. And I
Impressive.
remember that specifically thinking, like, it's so strange that people are, like, putting themselves in these tiny little boxes, again, like, these little fractions of, like, "I'm this kind of person that only likes this, and I'm all about that." And I mean, I understand it because it's identity searching, people are really
Right.
trying to formulate their identity, they're trying to solidify their identity, and yeah, and I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting because it was, like, a lot of the things that people were choosing were very like us against them. Again, it was like
Yep.
this kind of human against that kind of human. and that kind of human against this one, and I was just like, "I don't get it." Like, I just I just think it'd be great if we all, like, were, like, good, you know? Like, if we're all set up for success, like, how would that be bad, you know? And again, and then, you know, even in law school, I was thinking about this morning for some reason, but in law school, I remember, taking a race and law class. It's one of my favorites. Shout out to my professor Juan Perea. He was amazing and like literally wrote the textbook, and it was incredible. And I hope it's still legal. Like, I don't know
Surely
if
they
we're
haven't
allowed to
gotten
do
to law school yet. Well, that'll happen soon
that.
enough, right?
Right. And so it was amazing. And I remember just reading all of this, wow, profoundly eye-opening stuff and thinking like, just mind blown situation. Like I had already made it all the way to law school, and there was so much that I, you know, was learning in this class. And we were talking about race and racism, obviously, and people were like had all these theories actually about like I don't know if we were talking about like the origins of racism or what. I can't remember how it prompted me to say this, but I just remember saying, you know, I was like, I think I'm like, my theory of all of this is, and you know, I could be completely wrong. I'm gonna temper what I'm about to say because I just remember thinking of it as a conversation being like, I wonder what this professor thinks about this, who's written all these books on race and stuff. And I remember saying, you know, it seems to me that like the origins of racism have to be based in like resources and like a scarcity of resources and people wanting to hoard resources. And because I was like, because it doesn't make any sense, right? Like for me, I'm like, it does not make sense. And I could be, you know, again, I know there are lots of theories out there, but I'm like, it almost doesn't make any sense to be like, you are a different skin color. I hate you. Like it just doesn't make sense to me, right? Like I just don't understand how that's intrinsically, you know, a thing. And so and then also like you know, if you look at history, it's like it wasn't a thing for so long, right? And so I know it's complicated, but at the end of the day, I was just like, I think that this just happens to be a really handy tool for people to be like, these resources are going to go to our group and not your group, you know? And he was just like, huh, never thought of it that way kind of thing. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'm weird, I guess. But
You're
I,
not. See, look at you diminishing yourself there. Hmm.
yeah, really. But but I mean, at the time, I actually found it shocking that like I was the only one thinking that. I was just like, I'm like, but it's just so strange because, like, you know, it's almost like we've accepted it, I guess, which is what I think that's the thing that bothers me the most. It's like we've just accepted that racism is almost like natural. And I
Hmm.
find it entirely unnatural. I find it entirely unnatural. You know, when you're born as a child, I mean, especially like in Latino communities, it's like you have family members that are all different shades. And, you know, we're not like we hate, you know, Theo Luis, like it's just, he's got
Right.
dark skin, you know, that doesn't make any sense. And so for me, it just seems like so unnatural. I had to find an explanation that made sense to me. And it's just, I'm finding it very interesting that like, that theme comes up in so many different ways, right? It's coming up in like your resources that you have in high school. It's coming up in your resources that you have at work or your perceived resources, your perceived
Hmm.
understanding that there's a limited number of resources out there, right, for everyone to have. And yeah, and then this bigger picture, it's like societally, we have decided there's not enough for everybody. I really think that's one of the core issues of the society overall is we've decided that if one group gets too much, then this other group will suffer and vice versa.
And
And
isn't
we're
that
not okay with
ironic
that
for
thought.
a
Yeah.
capitalistic society that thinks that,
Yes.
and like this whole American
So
idea that
ironic.
anybody can achieve the American dream, but
Yes.
can they
Yes.
really? Because we've created a system where you can think you can, but you can't.
Right. Or even if you can, your whole people cannot. Like that's where I am in my
Yep.
life where I'm like, okay, I bought into the American dream. I did all the school. I did all the school that I could do, you know? I did all the things. I got all the good grades, you know, all of those things. And I realized like, okay, there is such thing as, you know, mobility, like definitely like my, you know, my situation is very different than my parents was and what their parents were. I mean, I just learned that my grandparents moved from Texas to Michigan as migrant workers. I didn't even know that. I really didn't even know that because they went into factory work right away, shortly after, I would say. But it's like that's just literally 2 generations ago. That's just my
Yeah.
grandparents that just passed away like last year. So my life is very different and I understand that like the mobility situation, it is real. It is possible. But now I look around and think like, and what about everyone else?
Mhm.
What about everyone else, right? Like it's not enough for me to be like, okay, one of us has something different or two or three even. I have cousins that are doing good things and doing well, and that's fantastic, but it's like, what about everyone? And that's the difference for me. It's like if you can't imagine all of us having stability, and I'm not even talking about the American dream and like, oh, get rich and forever be wealthy. I'm talking about like literally everyone's okay.
Surviving.
Everyone's
Yeah.
surviving and they're okay. They're not mentally ill, physically ill all the time. They're not just suffering and struggling all the time. I'm talking about everyone being stable mentally, emotionally, physically, in every way, right? Like financially. I'm talking about that. And if we can't imagine that for every group in this country, whether it be racial groups, ethnic groups, people regardless of their legal status or people regardless of their sexuality or whatever. If we can't imagine that, then what are we doing? Like, what are we
Yeah.
actually doing?
I was thinking the other day that if somebody went through my phone text message,
Mhm.
what phrase do I use a lot? And the
Mm.
phrase that I use a lot is fucking Americans. And
There's so
that's what I
much.
kept thinking because, you know, I have this perspective that is so different from
Mhm.
Sweden where like there is no judgment if you are a lawyer or if you are an electrician or if
Yeah.
you work in the
Yeah,
food
that's what you
industry
do for your
and
work.
you're a
So
yeah,
what?
right. There's like one
Yeah.
is not better than the other, but in the United States,
Hallelujah.
right? Like
Mhm.
we dismiss people who are tradesmen
Mm.
when we shouldn't, and we
Hell no,
exalt
especially
people
because
who,
'cause they're doing all the work for you, like, my god.
and
When
I'm
I
sorry,
see
but
people
that is
on the road,
reliable and
oh my
consistent and good
gosh,
work.
yes. I mean, when I see people on the road doing work on the street, like, the construction workers in this Texas heat, I
Thank
salute
you
them. I'm
for
like, "Wow."
yes.
I'm just like, I would not be I'm sitting in my comfy car in the air conditioning, and I'm just looking at them, like, in awe, honestly, like, of how are you doing this? Like, you are superhuman in a way, like, it's just
Oh
amazing to me.
yeah.
I admire them so much.
And thank them so much for
Thank
like
them, absolutely.
being different than me who likes my air conditioned
Yes.
car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's not their choice. I don't know their stories, each one of them, but all I know is that they're doing it regardless of whatever has gotten them there. They're doing it. And if they weren't doing it, I don't know that anybody else would. I just, our food, I mean, like the food chain supply, the things that we make people do so that we can enjoy food is it's unconscionable, frankly. And I mean, this is the kind of thing where I'm just like, this is what I'm talking about. I'm rooting for humanity. Like, can we do better? Just do better
Yeah.
to one another because there's no I don't think, and maybe this is the difference in mindset, but it's like for me, it does come down to philosophy actually. I think philosophy is profoundly important. And this is why because your ideas of what can and cannot be and how we will and will not treat people and how we will and will not limit each other comes from your philosophies, right? It comes
Oh
from
yeah.
this place of like, what's your worldview, right? What do you actually believe is and isn't about the world? And for me, I do believe in abundance. I mean, we have billions of people on earth, and there's so much to go around actually. And if everyone it's
Mhm.
like education. People talk about education as like the thing all the time. And it's like I agree. But it's like education is not limited. We could educate everyone in the world. There's no reason why
Oh
we
yeah.
really couldn't, right? But we don't. And I think part of that has to do, frankly, with how we want to keep people, and I learned this in the 8th grade, frankly. I learned this in the 8th grade when my teacher, Mr. Lucas, still remember him, taught me about different religions and how some religions had just like out and out caste systems that said like you stay here and you do this kind of work and you live this kind of life, and I do this
Yeah.
and I do this kind of life and I do this kind of work. And I just realized in that moment, like, oh, okay, so this is a whole thing. Like, this is like people are using tools to keep people in their keep people in a certain place. And I was like, this makes so much sense now. So this has helped me understand the world entirely. And it helps me know that if we can do that, we can undo that.
Yeah, and it makes me realize how, like, ingrained it is in us. It's not just,
How what?
like, how ingrained
Oh,
this
ingrained, yes.
is in us. It's not only society that we're hearing
Right.
it from, it's our teachers, it's our parents, it's advertisement,
Hmm.
it's everything. Like, I
Yeah.
I don't get it, and it has to stop, like, it has to get better
Hmm. And maybe
because
it is.
otherwise, I hope it is.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it is. I have so much Barbie on my mind because Barbie is all over the place. I just watched a thing where people like did a whole like series of the history and evolution of Barbie, and how it's really a reflection of just like society in a way. And so it was really interesting actually to watch that and understand that like things have changed a whole lot. I mean, even just in the past, several decades, that things have really
Oh, yeah.
changed a lot. I mean, think about the 50s to now. I mean, 2050 is going to look a lot different than 1950, right? And so I mean, things are changing. Things are changing, I think, for the better. I mean, I'm encouraged, frankly, by, the fact that we're even talking about trauma and mental health and, just thinking about the way that we have been impacted, by the things that have happened to us and happened to each other collectively, individually, etc., even as groups. And so the dialogue is definitely coming. Now I feel like it's a matter of how do we talk to each other on a small level, I feel like the
Mm.
one thing that's interesting to me is like how there's so much that happens now in social media. There's like this new zeitgeist that develops, online, but I get worried that like people are very different online than they are in real life. Not always, obviously, but just in general. I think that you have to recognize that people can be very different online versus their real life, right? Like they feel emboldened in different ways. They feel maybe almost like desensitized in different ways, or sometimes even de identified, right? Like you can go on certain apps and things and you can just have a username that has nothing to do with your real name. People don't know who you actually are, right? That's why doxing is so interesting because it's a whole thing of like people actually know who you are and where you are and what your real life is. And there's this separation between online persona and real life persona for most of us, I would think. And I
It's
wonder, yeah.
it's funny that you say that because I was thinking the other day because I have intentionally unfollowed a
Hmm.
lot of people
Oh,
recently.
yes,
Like, not like
yes.
people inside my friend circle or even just
No,
removed from
just
my friend
what do
circle.
you want to see? Yeah.
Right. And I find that social media, if curated possibly,
Hmm.
is like a safe place for people to be kind to each other because I don't
Yeah.
think it's safe to be kind to each other out there in the real world a lot of
Mm.
times.
But see what I mean? There's a difference. That's what's so
Mhm.
interesting to me about it is like it's just a different space. And you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, just that is very textural. Is like you can you can curate this world where,
Mhm.
in your real life, I think we talk sometimes about working to curate your world in a way that makes sense for you,
Yeah.
but it's not as easy as it is online. You don't get to just
Oh, so
unfollow
much
somebody,
easier.
you
Like,
know.
wouldn't it be awesome if you could just, like, just
Just
unfollow somebody in the real
you're like,
world?
"No, I block you." Well, I think Black Mirror had an episode about that. It was pretty interesting, but but yeah, that's what what I mean is, like, it's very different in real life, right? And it might be, frankly, like you said, easier sometimes, to practice these things that we aspire to online versus in real life. And so for me, it's that work that I'm really interested in how do we translate all of this understanding and philosophy of and theory of change into our real lives. And in our real lives, when we're talking about an us versus them mentality, just like we talk about everything, I think the first step is seeing it, recognizing it, calling it out, naming it, acknowledging that it's there, right?
Absolutely.
Because if we can see it, then we can do something about it, right? But if we're just swimming in the soup, you know, we're just going to keep swimming in it. And so I think seeing it is number one. And then doing something, saying something, calling it out is probably the next thing as usual, because we need to call it out for ourselves and maybe for others, right? And so it's kind of funny whenever I consider it like coaching now, but like anytime I'm coaching people, when they're like, "Oh, I love their reactions when I just tell people to do both, I guess what's considered both things. I don't really consider them both anymore, which just shows how I've grown comfortable with this kind of thing. But it's like, the other day I was telling one of my staff members, like, "Oh, you should just, maybe you write a letter and you say, I want this in this many days. If this doesn't happen, then this is what I'm going to do, blah, blah, blah." Like just an advocacy letter. And they were just like, "I can do that?" And I'm like, "You can do whatever the hell you want." I'm like,
But isn't
but it's
that
just
weird that like
amazing. Yes.
yeah,
The permission thing is real. Like people
so
literally
real.
think that they need permission to do anything, everything. I mean, and I'm not trying to be, diminishing or anything like that. I mean, it's just like literally interesting to me that we all have internalized this
Mhm.
this limitation on ourselves, right? We've all internalized it where you're like, "Oh, I'm allowed to do that. I can do that. Like no one's going to yell at me, no one's going to backlash against me, or maybe they are, and you just need to know that that's going to happen and you should be okay with that, or
Right.
you should have some healthy ways of coping with that, right? Because maybe it is going to happen, but yeah, you can do it, and you can handle the consequences, right? And so yeah, that part of calling it out, and then giving yourself permission and others permission to speak about it honestly and truthfully and just like completely transparent, where you're just, I mean, I don't know what else other word to use besides to say to be real with yourself and with others, right? And to literally talk about it out loud. Because for example, if someone today were to tell me something like, "Oh, you think you're better than me," I mean, I would really feel like concern for that person, truly. I would be like, "Let's
Mhm.
talk about what you're feeling." Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about where that's coming from. Like, I would have such a different approach than teenage me, where I would just be like, "Oh, I guess we want to fight now." Like, like you don't know what to do when somebody comes to you with that energy, right? But now I think knowing where that might be coming from, that it might be coming from a place of fear, that it might be coming from a place of hate, or not hate, but just like, just someone being intimidated, basically. Now I now, just like with so many other things, I think one of the first steps after calling it out and acknowledging it is just like being curious about it and being like, where does that come from? Like, where do you think those feelings are coming from? And maybe people will laugh at you and not want to talk to you, and that's okay. But for our own, or for my own sanity anyways, it's important for me to frame this situation in how it comports with like my worldview of the fact that everybody is human, everyone deserves to feel good about themselves, everyone deserves love and empathy and compassion.
Mhm.
And when I think about it in those terms, if somebody is lashing out against me in that way, that's what I think. I think this person must really need to be heard. This person is going through something. This person is feeling insecure or intimidated, or they're being triggered, or something is happening. So how can I show them empathy?
And that is challenging at times, and it is hard to recognize
Mhm.
when to do it and how to do it. But I think it's equally hard to do it when we see it in ourselves, right? Like
Mm,
how do we catch ourselves from being the person who either says the negative thing or, is has a limited mindset where they think and they're comparing themselves to we're comparing ourselves to other people. How do we stop the comparison? How do we stop the limitation that there's only so many seats at a table when there isn't? Let's just say we made that up, that there's a limited number of seats at a table.
Mhm.
And we, I guess it's almost like we need to police ourselves as much as we want to uplift everybody else and help them see a grander and more abundant worldview. We have to remember to do the same thing for ourselves, right? Like,
Right. Yep.
I know for me, my biggest hurdle is facing that type of backlash from my, we'll call it estranged brother, or
Mhm.
I might have estranged myself from him. I don't know the exact terminology, but let's just say the times that we do communicate, it is
Chosen space, yeah.
chosen space. Yes. You
Deliberate
know,
distance.
yes. And I try to engage at times, and I try to be receptive to him at times, but it quickly turns into a very much place of limitation for him. And when try to make those inroads and how do I help and where is that coming from? It
Mhm,
is very much a brick wall
mhm,
and which leads
mhm.
to deeper
Mm,
lashing out.
yeah,
So, sometimes you have to put up those walls and sometimes those walls are there for your
yeah,
safety, especially
that's right.
when you are working on yourself and trying to ensure that you're not that
I'm so
person.
glad you brought that up too, because I mean, we can very well easily get caught into this idea of like,
Yeah.
we always have to save everybody, and we don't. I mean, for me, it's like you could be curious about someone else in that moment. You could be curious about yourself on why this negative talk is coming
Mhm.
up, and really, that's the most important thing is to really investigate in yourself where that's coming from, and work to work on
Absolutely.
healing there. But also, I mean, you could literally be like, okay, that's a curious situation. Never talk to that person about it, but be like, I wonder what they're going through. And you can have empathy for somebody, I believe, without forcing anything on their behalf, actually,
Yeah.
right? Because everything should be consent based. And when you're finding somebody where they are, that's where they are. You can want people to be farther along in their journey. You can want so hard, you can wish and dream that they were in the same place as you or beyond, but that doesn't do anything. Like, they have to take that journey for themselves. You have to meet people where they are. And
Mhm.
literally, I always tell people, like, there's a lot of, I'm definitely, caught in that cycle of like wanting to help always. Um, and I do, but the boundary that I had to set for myself to make it healthy for myself was that I could only help people that are ready to be helped and that are ready to do the work, because you can't do the work for anybody. You can't. I mean, I really wish that that was different, because I would definitely do the work for people, even if I maybe shouldn't. I totally would, right? But there are people who just, they're not there yet. They're not ready for that. But the
And
thing
they
that I
may
like to
never be
do,
there.
and they may never be there, and you have to accept that, and it's so freaking hard. It's so hard to
Yep.
accept that. And so for me, what I do is I basically try to like stay as close to somebody that I love as possible without it hurting myself. I always say you can help people until until that spot where it would hurt you. And so I try to stay close. I try to be available for when they're ready, for when things change in their life, if they ever change in their life. I mean, I think that's something I learned in DV. It's like people might come to you for help even, which is kind of a really strange dynamic when people are asking you for help and they're not really ready for the help that you have to give. And you
Yeah.
have to like grapple with that whole idea of like, okay, this person will know that I'm here when they are ready for this step. And that's just something that we have to like understand, and we have to accept, and we have to be prepared for, because nobody is in this exact same place you are in life, right? Like, everybody is in a different place. They may or may not be going to the same place or places, along their journey. I mean, And we just can't. We can't control other people, and we cannot tie our worth up in their progress. I think that's one of the hardest things that I've had to like grapple with is like, I'm a helper. I want to help people. I want to be there, supporting people and especially people that I love. And it's like, if they're not ready for that, and if they may never be ready for that, I can't, I can't tie all of my worth and my value in whether or not they do that, right? Or whether or not they change or whether or not they go in a certain direction on their journey. Like, we just can't do that to ourselves. We have to be responsible for ourselves, and we can be there for people however we are able to be there for people, whenever we're able to be there for people, when we choose to be there for people.
I was thinking about when that person who is not ready to progress is somebody that we admire for other things or love
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
hold
That's
in some
difficult.
high
Yeah.
regard. It is difficult to not take what parameters they have placed on themselves and place them on ourselves,
Mm.
right? And like, how do
Mm.
we ensure that we stay uplifted when we're wanting to be available for those people when they're ready to get to that place that we hope that they get to?
And that's another lesson that I felt like strangely had to be said out loud for me is like, you can't help anybody if you're not helping yourself. Like, I mean,
Yes.
it's such a like thing that you have to tell to like martyrdom culture, right? But it's like
Yep.
it's real. Okay, so like we're also like so many of us are starting in that place where it's like this is what we've been socialized to do. We've been socialized to be the helper. We've been socialized to be the martyr, and martyr meaning like
Hmm.
you give all of you until there's
Hmm.
nothing left for others, right? And I don't know, I was even thinking about somebody just said recently, like, they talk about the cup and your cup being full, and somebody was like, you don't serve from a full cup. They were like, you fill your cup and then you deal with the world with all the overflow. And I was like, ooh, I like that because, it's like we feel like we have to fill our cup, doing all of this for other people. But I was thinking, like, what about the people who they're running on an empty cup already? Like, there's so many people at the complete opposite of that who are running on nothing. They're already giving everything. And then, even more gets taken from them. I'm like, what even is that? Like, there's no analogy for that, but it's real. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, a broken cup? I don't know. Like, the cup is starting to crack and crumble. I don't know what's going on, but I want people to know that they deserve, to be well. And it's actually the only way, truly, if you really do care about helping other people, or you just, you are a helper, or you just care about other people in your life and you want to give. I mean, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not fulfilling your own life mission, if you're not, investing in your health and wellness, you really won't be prepared to do anything for anybody. You just can't. And I wish that that was at least the minimum, right? Is that we're caring for ourselves before we try to care for everybody else. Because God bless, everybody that does that. I love them. And they're so important and amazing that they care so much about other people. But the caring about yourself part has to happen. It has to be first.
And I think that includes like believing in yourself and believing in
Mm,
your potential,
yep,
right? Like,
yep.
if you can't believe in your potential or see yourself in a position that you want to attain, whatever that might be, why should anyone else see or believe that you deserve that position or place or career or relationship or whatever it might
Mm,
be? Like, you have got to know that you have the value and that you are loved and that you love yourself and that you can, frankly, you can do it, right? Like, whatever you put your
mhm,
mind to, you can do it. And
yeah.
block out all those naysayers from all that harmful language that has been all around us our entire lives. And
And it's one of the most powerful things you can do, actually. It's one of the most powerful things you can do to, if you do care about helping others or building other people up or uplifting other people, showing them what that looks like and how to do it is one of the most
yeah,
powerful things you can do.
yeah.
Because
Like,
seeing is believing.
I cannot tell you how many people in politics,
Mhm.
uh, come to me and say, "I don't understand how you can be nice and kind in this world." And I'm like, well, thinking to myself,
Well, read
well,
it.
that's
Check it out. Take notes,
pretty
honey.
take notes, honey, right? But also, how sad for you because
Right.
you actually believe that this
Tragic,
world
like,
shouldn't
yeah, that's
exist.
all you've seen is bad examples or sad,
Yeah,
angry or, negative examples. That's tragic. Come look at all this
horrible.
goodness. Yes.
Yeah. But I think that's the case for a lot of people, right? Whether it's they don't want to be the person who attains new goals or educational levels
Making yourself
or
small is a whole thing.
yeah,
Like, we talked
uh,
about not taking a compliment, but think about how people literally limit their entire potential so that they can
yeah.
stay meek and, small for other people and not take up space that maybe other people they think are supposed to be taking. That's a whole phenomenon in itself.
It's so weird to me. It's like I think of like one prime example that I guess maybe happens in Texas more than other places. I don't know, I could be wrong. But when I call them born and raised, like people who are born and raised in Austin and then don't leave Austin ever.
Mhm, mhm,
And then I was talking to somebody who was born and raised, and then one of their cousins had the audacity to move to Dallas. And like it was a
mhm.
big thing in this family that I can't believe that cousin moved so far away. And I look at them like,
To Dallas?
yeah. And I'm like, yeah. Most of my cousins are across the ocean. So and I start to inquire because I'm like, so why is this
Curious. Yeah.
important? And like, well, they won't be able to attend family events. And why is that important? Because don't you miss family events sometimes? Because things come up and they're like, well, yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay,
Mm,
it's not like they
interesting.
moved to the moon. You
Right.
can easily make it from Austin to Dallas in a
Mhm.
short period of time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I got all of those comments too when I was moving, and I was like, "I'm not moving out of the country, like, calm down." Like, we're in the same country, it's a domestic flight, it's like 2 or 3 hours, it's okay. But, people have again, it's just a limiting mindset, it really
Yep.
is, and it's like, I have no idea where I mean, I know, I'm just saying that we might not fully be aware of all of the places that this originates, right? Like, it just
Yeah.
feels like it just, seeps into us from all these little signals, the socialization of it all, and at the end of the day, it's like, if you don't challenge that, if you don't question where those feelings are coming from, if you don't question where that negative self-talk is coming from, like I tell so many people, life pushes you around instead of you telling, your life what it's gonna be. Like, I'm like, "Are you just gonna let life push you around?" That's one of the things I tell people all the time because I'm just like,
I love
"You're
that.
not being intentional." I'm like, "Are you just gonna
Yeah.
let life push you around? Are you gonna take charge?" Right? Because it comes down to that, and it's like, even with these little it's subliminal messages, it's unconsciousness. It's our unconsciousness telling us, "Oh, no, 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 no. Can't think about moving to another city. Can't think about going that far." And then you try to start justifying it and you're like, "But why?" And it's like
Hmm.
and if you don't even question it, you're literally just operating from this place of unconsciousness, right? And that unconsciousness is again built around all of these things that have just been messaged to you in these subtle ways and not so subtle ways through, the groups and how we talk about them. Oh my God, cousin Teresa moved to Dallas, like, this is a big thing. So that's telling you, you don't do that. You don't even think about that. Don't even think about moving away. How dare you? Like, and that becomes your it's not even a dialogue is what I find really interesting to me. Like, in my own personal human experience, I find interesting, like, we talk about negative self-talk, but for me, it's like so much of the things that we do and the choices we make, it's actually not even something that's articulated in our mind. It's oftentimes something that's just like, "Oh, no, I don't feel like that's a good idea." I don't feel
Oh, like
good
it's an
about that.
unwritten rule that you don't want to even.
Yes, you don't even question it. You don't even have a dialogue in your head about it. It's just there, and you're like, "Nope." It's like, "Don't touch the stove." You don't even think about, like, "Don't touch the stove." You're just like, "Duh." You're not gonna do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just so profoundly instinctual now, right? Like, it's so ingrained that it's not even a negative self discussion. It's just literally like, nope, you don't even go there. You don't even go there. You don't even question it. And so that's why I say seeing it is so important. Just calling it out by name and acknowledging it and saying, I see you. I see this thought. I see this feeling and what it really means and where it's coming from. Like, and then where did that come from? Is that what I really want? Or is that something that, like, my aunt said one time. Like, I mean, you just literally have to, like, question everything, um, especially if it's something that, it's not gonna make you happy, frankly. I mean, that's another thing is, like, we're self-deprecating in our language, but we're also self-deprecating in our life choices.
Yeah.
And why?
Wow.
Wow. Where does that come from? And if we're not challenging it, then we're literally living somebody else's script for us. And that's a shame.
Wow. That's yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I started this conversation thinking that this was an easy, we just talk to ourselves in a better way situation. And now I've realized this is so ingrained that it is not even just about talking to ourselves, it's about recognizing the rules that we place upon ourselves that we don't
Mm,
even question.
yeah, yeah.
And how do you break free from it? And all I can think is it may just be repetitive self-talk, right? Until you prove the rule wrong to yourself.
Yes, I love doing that. One of the things that has really helped me is being like, "Oh, this feels scary, let's do it."
I love that.
Like, changing my entire narrative, right? Like, because you have been taught, or many of us have been taught, if something feels scary, don't do it. Just go home, be
Mhm.
comfortable. Let mama, like, make you a little, like, biscuit or something. Like, I mean, like, literally, like, like, feeling, like, comfortable has been, like, it's almost like a acculturated thing in itself of, like, you should seek comfort, you should seek safety. Of course, like, we all want that to a certain extent, but it almost goes too far. It almost
Oh,
goes
yeah.
too far where you're just like, "Okay, but if I'm comfortable all the time, I'm just sitting at home and doing nothing." Like, I mean, then what? Like, where's the life experience? I'm thinking of Nemo right now, which is so funny, but they're like, "Well, if nothing ever happened to him, nothing would ever happen to him," right? And it's, like, true,
Yeah.
because you can't have that. Like, what a waste of life to just be comfortable and bored all the time. I mean, that's not fun, so it's not interesting. It's not the human experience that I want anyways, and so what I realized, and I don't know how I did the first thing or whatever, how the progression was, but I just remember thinking, like, okay, I went to do this thing. I knew it was going to be really hard, and then it turned out to be amazing. And so then that made me feel like I could do the next thing because even though I know it's going to be hard, I could do hard things apparently because I already did one hard thing and that turned out
Mhm.
really well. And then that thing turned out well when I did the next one. So I was like, oh my God, this is cool. This is good. And then I realized, like, every time I'm doing hard, scary things that excite me but scare me at the same time, something good happens on the other side of that. And that might be part of it is that you almost have to start testing that theory. So it's a theory that I know works for me. And now it's just like I'm reprogramming myself to be like, oh, scary, exciting, do it. Like, and so you have to maybe prove it to yourself, but like maybe start small and do something that's a little bit scary, but exciting, and then see how it goes. And maybe you'll show yourself, oh, this was worth it. This was a good thing. I should do it again. I should do it bigger. I should do it bigger next time.
This reminds me of the Barbary bar review course that I
Oh,
had in San
Lord.
Francisco, and
Not
it was
Barbary.
oh, yeah, Barbary. Mhm. I don't even know if it still exists. Maybe it still exists. Who knows? Excuse me.
They've been around for a long time, so I bet you they do.
Excuse Excuse me. Ooh.
Of course.
So just thinking about
You
choking
good?
up, apparently, uh, there was like one of the last lecturers who came in said to the group, "Don't freak out. You can do it."
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
you know, it was like he like
Yes.
excuse me
He
cut
recognized that.
through.
He called it out. See?
He
Yes.
called it out, and this was after like weeks and
Yeah.
weeks of lectures,
Probably
and
because
he
he
was
could sense that in the room, people starting to freak out
yes,
and get in
and
their heads.
he pointed it out like you all have passed law school, you know all this stuff. The only thing that is
Mm,
standing in your way is yourself. And
mm,
I'm like, that has stuck with me,
mm.
and I use it on myself all the time because it is so true. Like, and maybe now I realize that it's not just me standing in my own way, it is all the like bullshit from society and families and friend groups that have put these like limits on you where you're like,
Yes. Yes.
this is not about them. This is about me and my choices.
Yeah. And just knowing that, like, you don't have to freak out and retreat. You don't have to be
Yeah.
afraid. You don't have to be doubtful of your own ability just because somebody else was. I mean, that's another thing. It's like you pick up on other people's insecurities and then you think, well, if
Yeah.
they can't do it, I can't do it. And I think that's really like the group think that's happening when people are like, you can't leave. You can't do this. You can't go
Yeah.
there. It's like, no, you think you can't do this. You think you can't leave. You think you can't go anywhere, right? And when you realize that there's, I mean, you call that out and see that you need to have that separation and that y'all are not the same people and that you all are not in the same place
Yes.
in your journey and that that's okay. And that you can show them. That's another thing that really inspired me actually. When I did start doing different things, I was like, I'm going to show people like it's not that big a deal. You can do it. It's not crazy. It's not, I'm not going to die. Like, I'm going to be fine, you know? And it's like, I mean, that's what people feel. They're just like, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to have any family. I'm going to die. Like, I mean, people, I don't, they don't say it, but it's like you can feel it. You can sense their apprehension, their, you know, like, you know, really, really strong fear that lies underneath. And it's like, you know, sometimes just showing people like it's okay, it's going to be okay, and saying it, it's going to be okay, telling yourself it's going to be okay. And, one of the things that I do sometimes, which I don't know whether or not this is good advice, but for me, it helps sometimes to actually think about the worst case scenario. I've said that before, but it
Oh
does. It
yeah.
helps it like,
Mhm.
sometimes I just think like, "Okay, yeah, things might go terribly wrong, and what if they did? What's the worst thing that could
Mhm.
happen?" And I mean, I just use that language, and for some reason, it helps me just push through and be like, okay, if that's the worst thing that can happen, I can handle that, you know? And you got to have a certain confidence about yourself for sure. But I believe the only way to truly build confidence is by doing. That's really what I believe. I think when you start doing things, and again, you have to have that mentality of that's scary and I'm going to do it anyways. Because once you do it and then you look back and you go, oh, I did that thing, then you're like, oh, I can do hard things. I can do this thing. I can do the next thing. You know, you just build that confidence by showing yourself, by proving it to yourself. But you can't prove it to yourself if you never try. that's the that's the big barrier I think that holds so many people back. It's like you build this nice comfortable world around yourself. You don't go out of your comfort zone. You know what you can do in the comfort zone. You don't know what you could do possibly outside of the comfort zone because you don't want to go there. So you have to push yourself out. And when you do and you prove yourself, you know, right or wrong, you prove yourself that you can do the thing, then confidence just follows. You've already been there, done that. It's not a big deal.
And I hope everybody takes that advice. Even those that want to say stay inside their comfort zones, but maybe like pivot around in there.
Hmm.
I mean, you know, try the little things too. And think
Yeah.
to yourself, what if it does work out? Because we always talk about
Yes,
how it
yes,
doesn't work out. But
yes,
let's assume that maybe it does work out. And let's start from
yes,
that point. Because for
yes.
me, that's what makes it easier to try something new, knowing that, hey,
Uh-huh.
you know
That'd
what?
be great.
There is
Yeah.
no reason that it should not work out.
Yes, I've skipped over that in part entirely. I think in part because I'm so optimistic, I'm always trying to, like, temper my optimism. I'm like, "We're gonna go here, it's gonna be great, we're gonna do all these things," but that's actually a really important part. You have to believe. You have to vision something and say, like, "It is possible," and actually believe it. Know that you can do it, and one
Mhm.
of the other things that has helped me is this. I look at something I wanna do, and I start looking at specific examples of people who have done it, even if I don't know them, even if they didn't come from the same town as me, even if they didn't have the same skin color as me or background or, ethnicity as me. I don't doesn't matter. Just anybody else that's done it. For me, I'm like it helps me because I have this mentality that like I'm not very different than other people. I know I am in certain ways, all those things that I said could count as differences between us. But at the end of the day, like they're just people, I'm just people. In my mind, that's my
Mhm.
mindset, that's my mentality, my philosophy. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. And that I don't know why, but that has helped me push through things where I'm just like, these people did it, I can do it. And sometimes honestly, you know, I've realized that exposure and seeing it, like I talked about, doing it and showing people that it can be done, representation is really important sometimes. Sometimes for me, it doesn't matter. But, like, for example, like I've said before, the first time I seen a Latina judge, I was in law school already. I knew I was going to graduate from law school, and I had never, ever, ever occurred to me that I could be a judge. It just did not cross my mind until I seen this woman, this brown woman that looked like me being a judge. And I was like, oh, I could be a judge. I just never thought of it. And it's just interesting to me. So that has helped me just kind of push through some of those things that would otherwise be limiting like barriers in my mind or even in my spirit, right? Of just the feeling of like, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna go for that." This feeling is one that's so important because I remember getting college applications from some amazing schools and being like, "That's not for me," and I have no idea why. I have no
Ugh.
idea why. Like, where in the hell did that come from? I just literally counted myself out. Like, no, they don't want me. Like, even though they sent this to my door with my name on it, like, they don't, this is a mistake. Or, like, they must send this to everyone. And I didn't even
Oh.
apply. I didn't even apply. And it's the stupidest thing. But, I forgive myself, obviously. But also, I just don't want that for anybody else. I want everyone to understand that, like, literally you can do anything, anything, anything. It's so hard for me because, people say that all the time, even to kids, like, you can do anything, and it means nothing. But I want to say something to the effect of, like, that thing that you think you can't do, or that thing that you're excited about but too scared to try, or that thing that you think that, is for somebody else, but you really wish it was for you, it's for you. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do hard things. Like, you can be that person. You just have to believe it. You really have to know that you can go for it and it's gonna work out. And if I had known that back then, like, I think I would have just made a different choice. Wherever that comes from, I just want that I want us to be able to call it out and reject it. That's really where I'm trying to get us, is we have to be able to see it and say no. No, no, I'm not gonna let that change my mind. I'm not gonna let that hold me back. I'm going to do the thing.
I love that. And I love that we are hopefully providing a safe space where people can do that and should do that and will do
Mhm.
that because, as I
Yes.
like to say, these rules that we have imposed upon ourselves, we took no part in making.
Right. That's right.
And
Absolutely.
as I think you, Shai, always point out to us, those are the rules that define the person who made the rules. They are not rules that define how we are, or what we should do, or how we should act. And if we think about it, those rules were probably made a long, long time ago, and the world has
Mm,
changed.
yes, yes, and it is our
So,
responsibility. to change them for ourselves and for
Absolutely.
others now. Like, we cannot wait for
And
this to just happen over time, like the rest of it. It's way behind the times.
make sure you are filling up your cup
Yes,
so that it is overflowing so that you can then uplift
yes,
yourself so that you can then uplift other people because we are of no value to other people if we are not full of energy and health and
purpose and wellness
purpose,
and
intent,
love. Yes,
love, yes, and not all those things that we
confidence.
talked about. No, absolutely confidence, and not all
Yes.
those things we talked about at the beginning with all those clicks that we've all seen where it is about judgment and holding people back because we don't want to do that. We want to make sure the world is a good place where we're all building each other up because we're working towards this world domination, right? It's a good
Yes.
world, and we're all
World
positive
domination of kindness.
and we're all supporting each other, doing a vast number of things. Because you know what? Not everybody in the United States wants to be president. I know
Right.
I do not.
I'm not no, thank you. No, thank you. Pass.
Yep, hard pass on that.
Hard pass. But we should support a good person who does, and that's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely,
Like, literally,
absolutely.
I'll be like, I'm happy to support even anybody running for local offices. I'm like, yes, I'm here for you to support you and you doing that and not me.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I am so thrilled about, just even imagining the world as it could be after this discussion. And I'm so excited for anyone listening that is willing to put this work into practice and join us in our quest for world domination of kindness, right? And of uplift because the world could be a very, very different place. And it's exciting. It's exciting to imagine, but it's also really exciting to be doing it now. Like, we're doing
It
it right now.
is.
We're doing it. We're
Right.
uplifting each other, like, really supporting each other.
Thank you all for joining us because I love the idea that we are creating the world that we want to live in instead
Yes,
of the world that has presented itself to us that we had
right.
no part in creating.
Right, exactly. So,
So let's
thank
not
you
freak
all.
out because we
No,
can do it.
that's right. Let's not freak out. We can do it, and we are doing it. And I love you all
Yes,
for
we
doing
are.
it. And I love you, Tessa. Thank you so much for who you are and all that you do.
Thank you all.
Take care.